Mate, did you play any other sports as a youngster when you were growing up?
Yeah, so I'd played rugby league and rugby union. I played that for school at Pittwater High School, and then I was played soccer. Man, I rode dirt bikes for years. Yeah, there's kind of a lot of stuff really that I did. Did a lot of running, touch footy, cross country, um, all those kind of sports that you do at school. I kind of took them out of school as well, and it was really funny that I don't know why. I look back now, like I kept gravitating back to pool swimming. Um, I just had this, I don't know, kind of love for it. Because I guess because I knew that if I worked the hardest, I'd get the result. Um, and probably because it was in the water as well. You don't get too hot when you're in there, opposed to being on an athletics track or a motorbike track or on the footy field. So yeah, mate, I kind of dabbled in everything, and my parents were so encouraging for that. They didn't want me to specialize in one sport until I was probably 15 or 16. And I look back now and said, yeah, that was a really great idea. Because now I see so many kids, just they're very good at something, but they get told from, certain coaches who may have their own agenda that they should be focusing more on this. And that comes back to kind of goal setting and educating your kids and different athletes as to where they want to be in 10 years. Where they think they want to be or where they do want to be, and breaking those goals down into bite-sized chunks. For me, if you'd asked me, I would have had no idea. It wasn't until I was probably about 15 or 16 and I started following the Ironman circuit a little bit more. I thought, that's a cool sport. They're in the ocean. They're fighting big waves. They're good swimmers. They're good paddlers. They're fit looking guys and girls. And that's what kind of, I guess, pushed me towards that.
And in that first experience, when you first got a taste of Ironman, I think you said you were 18 years old. And in your own words, I think you got demolished by some of those big name guys. You came in as a youngster and they kind of ate you for breakfast there. How humbling was that experience, and what did you learn from that in the early stages?
Yeah, it is very humbling. It's like a young, 18-year-old running out on a footy field and just getting absolutely flattened.
Yeah.
Um, it shows that you've got talent, but lack a lot of experience, which I was okay with. I could swallow that. And you've got weaknesses. For me, from day one, my big thing was always I could identify a weakness and try and work on it. I knew my swimming was my strength, and I'll make the most of that and try and capitalize on that. But my surf ski paddling and my board paddling was weak compared to those older guys. So I went back to the drawing board and slowly chipped away at it and came back bigger and stronger the following years, and slowly climbed my way through the ranks. But it's one thing that I guess I always have had in me from a young age is just it's a fighting mentality. I whether I'm fit or unfit, I put my foot on the line and just want to just want to fight, go out there and race as hard as I can and do whatever I can, whether it's for a team or for myself, an individual sport. And that's one thing you can't coach. Um, I really try and help the kids that I train with now kind of understand that is that the best way to get better at racing is just do more racing. And if you can after a race, take a couple of notes as to where you went wrong, what you did right and what you did wrong, and let's come back to training and address it.
Yeah, and it's awesome to hear that. I guess a lot of the guests we've had on in the past on this podcast have kind of reiterated the same thoughts, about just getting in there, the repetitions, just having a dig, giving it a crack, and really pushing yourself is a really important message for a lot of youngsters as well. When you were getting started, you kicked off your Nippers career, Coleroy Life Saving Club at the age of 9 in the under 10s. So I guess Coleroy is probably one of those beaches where it's not as rough. You'd say the swell isn't as obviously as big as somewhere like Manly, or you go down to Curl Beach, for instance. When did you make the transition to Manly Surf Life Saving Club? And I guess in the early days there, what was it like? I understand that as you went through the ranks, you got into carpentry as well. And I think there was a time in your career where you got to a point where, you know, you had to give up the carpentry to pursue your Ironman career. So was that at Manly, or was that as you're working?
Yeah, so I guess if I was to give you a quick, I guess, snapshot of, I guess, the timeline of my career, I started at Coleroy, and I raced, you know, I learned kind of all I knew through the ranks there at Coleroy, got to the Opens, and I always had this burning desire to see what all the fuss was about in Queensland, because we'd turn up to certain races and they were just so much more dominant than the Sydney guys. And so when I finished school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, like most people, and my dad's a builder, so I went and did my carpentry apprenticeship with him. And one you know, amazing bit of, I guess, advice my parents said was that, you know, you can chase what you want to do, but we always want something for you to fall back onto, if the sport doesn't work out or if you get injured or whatever it might be. So I did my 4-year carpentry apprenticeship with my dad and my younger brother as well. And once I finished that apprenticeship, got my ticket, and I said, I want to chase being an Ironman for the next couple of years. And they said, go for it. So I decided that I was going to go to Mooloolaba Surf Club, up on the Sunshine Coast. I spent 3 years there, and they were the 3 probably hardest training years of my life. The squad that we had was just first class. The coach we had was first class. It really taught me what you need to do in this sport to be successful, on the field. And I got to a point then after kind of 3 years, my girlfriend at the time, Holly, my wife now, was still in Sydney. So we lived apart for best part of 3.5 years. You know, she'd come up every second weekend or I'd come home. But it was tough. There were opportunities arising for me sponsorship-wise that were based out of Sydney. But if I wasn't living in Sydney, they weren't too interested. So I got to a point where I thought there is, you know, kind of weighed up both scenarios. And for me, it was, there was more in Sydney for me than there was on the Sunshine Coast. I loved my time there, but to be honest, it was time for me to move home. I did a short stint at Newport Surf Club. You know, realised that probably wasn't the right program for me, and moved to Manly. The coaches there were exactly what I needed at the time. You know, surrounding myself with older guys, you know, top level coaches, and a really, really good culture. And so I've been at Manly now for best part of 6 years. And mate, like, moving home to Manly it's where I've won, you know, my Australian title and my Nutri-Grain title and a lot of others. So yeah.